we like to have a local flavor to the show. For those of you who don't know, we are based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so we like to bring in as many Wisconsin guests as we can, along with, of course, part of our relaunch having that national guest on.
Absolutely.
But we never want to lose sight of where we are from and the great soccer that's going on in the Milwaukee area. We have with us today the head of men's programs at Milwaukee's Croatian Eagles, Mr. Alex Toth. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Baxter, for having me.
You're very welcome, Alex. So for those of I guess obviously we mentioned we have a national and a local feel. Give us the 101 on the program for our national audience that maybe might not know about this Milwaukee club.
Well, the Milwaukee Croatian Eagles have been around since 1922, so that makes us the current oldest soccer club in North America.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's a great thing that we always like to boast about.
That's fantastic. Holy cow.
So I've been with the club for 12 years, 10 as the men's majors and coach. In the last 10 years, we've done really, really well. And right now, we're expanding into the next level, which is Premier League of America.
Okay. And for those that don't know, I know we're always trying to figure out the tier system because America says we don't have a tier system. We're not, and there's no promotion,
and yet every press
relegation.
release has something to do with a
exactly.
tier system.
Playing in it's always in parentheses, playing in the fourth tier, the fifth tier. So if you had to put your magical tier system on the wall for us, Alex, where exactly is the league that you guys are in?
I spoke to Duncan Riddle, who's the executive director of USASA, this past weekend at our annual meeting for Wisconsin Soccer Leagues, which is a local league, and we've been granted provisional status for fourth tier.
Wow, okay.
So just like NPSL and the PDL, so we are a fourth tier league.
So for those of us that don't know, why are there multiple, maybe I don't know if you know or not, why are there multiple leagues with the same tier status? Why don't we just have one big old-fashioned league at the fourth tier?
I think it's just basically, different priorities. One of the reasons Premier League of America was created actually last year as Great Lakes Premier League. It was to keep costs down. Our league is to keep costs as inexpensive as possible. Try to limit as much the travel, but still be able to play a regional schedule against top flight clubs.
So all the teams then so you have conferences, divisions.
Right.
Okay,
we have an East and West.
Okay.
So the eastern half is Michigan teams, Ohio team, and a couple from Illinois. The West is we have a team from Iowa. There's 3 teams from Wisconsin, us Bavarians, and Madison 56ers, and then 2 teams from Minneapolis.
Wow. Okay.
So including Minnesota United Reserves, which was that was a great pickup.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's huge.
And what's the goal of the league in regards to the types of players we'll see on the rosters?
I think there's like for us and some of the teams that have been established for a long time, we'll use a bulk of our players that play in the local leagues, and then we hope to bring back any college players that we've had that are playing that'll be done and then once in a while we try to pick up any other college players from the local schools, from UWM, Marquette, or Madison. So. And I think the other teams, a lot of them are picking up players from, different Division 1, 2, or 3 schools. So that's kind of how, because we compete all year long, the Premier League ends in end of July, but because we compete, in just finish fall, we beginning spring season, we need to make sure that the players we get are going to be there for not just the summer. We want to try to keep them around as long as possible.
Sure. And I want to make sure we throw this out there. The Croatian Eagles are having a party this Saturday.
Ooh, who doesn't love a good party?
Yes. Last year when I took a flyer on this league, not knowing what was going to happen, we started in March planning, and we just did everything on bare bones. Well, this year we put a lot of work into it, starting in October, trying to plan everything so that we can draw fans in and trying to make it a much more enjoyable soccer alternative to anything else that's out there. So the big party is our kickoff party. We're going to have food. We'll have beverages from one of our sponsors, Badger Max. We'll be players will be mingling. We'll be introducing a lot of our players to our fans. We're going to unveil our supporters group's name and logo, and then the big reveal on the new kits, which are going to be our kit sponsor is shopfutsal.com.
Okay.
And our new kits will be made by Unitas. So
that's fantastic. Wow. So it obviously seems like you guys are going in a good direction, then,
right?
Because sometimes you hear that's always the struggle is to get over that first hump. But it seems like you've got good leadership and good grouping around you. So when do we actually get to see some balls kicked around for an actual game coming up then?
Well, for us, not locally, but our first game is going to be next Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, is that
friendly?
Right?
Yeah, we have friendly against FC Indiana, which is an NPSL team.
Sure.
Okay, yep.
They invited us to come down there, so it's not really a great time to do it because the next day is Easter. But
True.
I wanted that early season, kickoff, and then after that, the biggest one that will be is the 23rd of April. We'll be at home. Another friendly against Aurora Borealis Soccer Club, which is in the other division. So they're brand new, and they wanted to play as many games as possible. So we are hosting them. And then the following day, we're having a game in Burlington, Wisconsin, which is they've just become an affiliate. They're youth soccer club, affiliate of Croatian Eagles youth program, which is awesome. And so UW Whitewater, which we normally play every year as a friendly, because Scott Surprise, who's a really close friend of mine and director of coaching at Croatian Eagles on the youth side, he's also coaches at Whitewater, and then I'm also good friends with Tony Gwynn, the head coach. And they organize this game on the 24th. So those are and then the real deal kicks off at the end of May, where we go travel for 2 games in Minneapolis. And then the big derby, we're going to promote in it, but with the Bavarians, we have a home and home with them. We host them first on June 4th, so that's our first really home game for
June 4th, the big thing to keep an eye on.
Big derby game, yeah.
Right. Well, that's the Bavarians and Croatians, as we talked about before the show. Right. Of course, I was on the Bavarians myself for 3 years. It's always been a big game. Right. It's always been a big game. But even at the majors level, Bavarians had won 3 in a row Open Cups, and they seem to be the champions of the area. But then just 3 years ago, if I have the dates right, Croatian Eagles were the ones to capture that trophy, the USASA Open Cup trophy.
Yeah, we won it in 2012, so that was a fantastic year because nothing went wrong, everything went right.
So for someone like you that's been around the program for quite a long time, are there moments in team history or moments in games that you've seen that stick out to you as saying, wow, this was kind of a defining or a turning point for our organization?
I think 2012 winning the national title was like the deciding point. It was definitely a defining moment because a club our size, let's face it, it's not really that exciting to be an ethnic soccer club anymore. And it was great. It was our 90th anniversary that weekend.
Oh, wow.
So we got to go back to Croatian Park with that cup, and there was a huge party that was already going on because of the Croatian Fest.
Sure.
And then we got treated
you brought the real party.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, again, I'm the older guy on the show, and I always like to go back to the history. I mean, it was the ethnic clubs that got the game going in this country. And it was all the way, I would say, all the way to the early 90s. It was all about the ethnic clubs.
Right.
That's who you wanted to play with. I should say at least in this area. But
even down where I'm from in Florida too, we've got all kinds
yeah.
of things like that too. All the immigrants that came over too, even still now with the Hispanics that continue to still come into, they are the driving force behind soccer down in South Florida.
So let's not mistake. We're talking a lot about this team that you're going to have in the PLA, but Croatian Eagles is a youth club.
Yes.
As well.
Right.
How many teams, how many players do you have in your total organization?
We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, between 42, 45 teams. Not completely sure exactly.
Sure.
Around 500 players. So,
excellent.
And then bringing in Burlington is another 275 players that they're affiliated with our club now, and we'll be able to provide them help coaching-wise. Some of their better players we can offer them to play on our teams that are playing in Midwest Regional League and at higher levels. So it was a great addition. But I coached in the youth for a couple, for about 4 or 5 years, and we, the days back in the days, we won a couple state cup championships with that team. So had a lot. Like Philip Surprise was on my youth team.
Wow.
and he's going to be playing for our, Premier League of America team. And he's played for Croatian Eagles since he was like 5. So he's a true Croatian Eagle.
Wow, that's no kidding. Yeah, it's definitely come all the way through the system now. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what are some possible future goals here for the club moving forward? I know that obviously being in the league now is a very big step for you guys, and you've got this launch party coming up this coming weekend as well. Is there anything that you sit at home late at night in your favorite chair and go, one day this is what I hope we do, or I would love it if this happened, or anything like that?
Well, I think, one of the things, I personally like to see, and they're working on is, putting in a turf field. I think, I hopefully to see that in the next couple of years. I also like to see us, we have a really nice location and kind of our main field, fill it out, make it a small stadium. And who knows, because there's such a drive in Milwaukee to have some type of professional soccer.
There is, yeah.
The Milwaukee Barons have been pushing for that. Who knows that some down the road that maybe that we can be involved in bringing a USL or an NASL team, to Milwaukee. I don't think an MLS maybe, but I think USL or a NASL team is probably more likely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's more realistic at this point.
Yeah, you got to get boots on the ground first before you can talk MLS.
So we're talking a lot about the games. Are your home fields still going to be at Croatian Eagles Park, or will you be at a different location?
No, we're going to stay there. So we're going to stay at Croatian.
And for the listeners, that is at 9140 South 76th Street in Franklin, Wisconsin.
Correct.
Is that where the party's going to be as well? We can't forget about that.
And party is from 2 to 6, and it's at our clubhouse on that location, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to stay there. Number one, we don't have to pay any facility fees, so it's a no-brainer to stay at our own place, and nice, and we have I think a beautiful clubhouse, so it's nice to get into it's kind of old school, so I definitely am an old school guy, so
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And most importantly, there is free food and free beers, what the advertisement says.
It is.
I didn't have plans this weekend. I'd be there.
There is, so that's always a lot of hospitality when you walk into that place. So
well, that's what you want to feel, though, too. Nobody likes going to a party where it's like, oh, you're better than now, kind of a thing. It's like, hey, we're all a big family. We all love the game, and we want to see it continue to grow in the Milwaukee area.
No, exactly. And we have players from all over the place. That's we have some Hispanic players. We have a player from Senegal. We have a few Croatian players, and then we've got some professional guys like besides Philip Surprise. Andrew Wiedebach is playing with us.
Okay.
So Andrew Stone is playing with us. He played with Indian 11 a couple years ago. So, and we're hoping to coax Jason Willen out a little bit.
You can always call Simon or I off the bench too if you need us to. We've got.
Well, you can call Baxter. I'm still healing from my broken toe.
There you go. If you need a lanky striker, call me up.
Alex, thank you for coming in, talking about the Croatian Eagles, especially the PLA team. Again, folks, kickoff party where you get to meet the players and the coach at Croatian Park in Franklin, Wisconsin. There'll be free food, free beer, sponsored by Badger Max and shopfutsal.com. Any parting thoughts for us, Alex, for the listeners?
Support local soccer. It doesn't matter if it's us, Bavarians, or any other teams that are out there. Support local soccer.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yep, and totally agree with you on that one, obviously. That's why we're doing the show.
Absolutely.